My name is David Darborn. I'm a second year student. I study Eastern European and Jewish history. I'm standing to be the Sustainability, Engagement and Operations Officer.
Hey, I'm James Cox. I'm running for Sustainability, Engagement and Operations Officer, and I'm a third at UCL now, studying Natural Sciences.
I'm running because I have the experience to do what has to be done to save UCLU from further finance cuts, essentially. We're in quite a tough situation. The university has for years been reducing the block grant that the union gets. If this carries on, it will, in the long term, damage the amount of money the clubs and societies get, the services that the union can provide. Everything we do, essentially, is threatened by the university's cuts to our funding. We're also in a society where the government has taken away disabled students' allowance. Higher tuition fees isn't an impossibility. The rent goes up year by year. Something has to change, and I think I am the person, I'm definitely the only candidate in this election who is capable of actually taking action to prevent this, and that is why I'm standing. I think we need a student union that acts for the interests and the needs of students, and that takes up a fight against the university for affordable student accommodation, that campaigns against the government for disabled students' allowance and free education. And that, I think, is the main reason.
So, obviously it's a brand new position this year, kind of merging the DCO and EO roles. So it's been quite exciting to be able to kind of engage students in the union, not just by using the politics side, but also using the, engaging students in the bars and the clubs don't have a club, and cafes more. My main thing is to try and improve the union's services so that we can stop money getting spent outside the university when we could just offer better lunch here. Like every day I see people queuing outside Lyon for hours for food. Why are they not queuing at the union cafes for food? Also, I think our bars could do much better. Student Central is taking a lot of business away from us. I know my sports team goes there quite a lot now. I'd also like to kind of cut down the union's senseless waste of paper. They print everything out, flyer everything. It's just a waste. Let's cut that down as well. And also, most importantly, engage more students in the union. There's 10,000 people who bought 20,000 clubs and society memberships, and about a tenth of them actually bother to vote in anything, but they're the most engaged group with the union, so we need to get them to do more and get more engaged.
I've been involved in the student union actively since my first day at UCL, more or less. I realised that this is probably the most... I care about my community, and that is my basic philosophy, that we have to start by taking action in our local community, and UCL is where I spend my days, where I work, it's where I live, where I eat, and I want to do something for that community, and that's why I started out a union representative in UCLU, and I was a representative in my halls as well. I was the president of the social committee there. We ran all kinds of events. I organised probably the most popular boat party in the history of Langton Close. During my time, so I was as a union representative, I sat on all kinds of committees within the union, so I know more or less exactly how the union works. And this, again, is key to why I think nobody in this election, apart from myself, is more suitable than I am to be the SCOO. And that is because I can go straight into this job. I know exactly what the purpose of the union is, how it functions. And I know that, above all, it's not about the union, it's about the people in the union, and it's about how you interact with these people. And this I learned from sitting on the committees, from understanding the chemistries, the internal politics, and understanding that this is not what's important. What's important is what you do, what action you take. And I have done that. So this last year, I started up a campaign in the halls. It started in Camden, the rents campaign. We've gone further now. We're now the UCL Cut the Rent campaign, and I started up that on the initiative that something has to change in halls, and nobody else was doing it. A few other people and I got together and we said, we have to start a campaign now. It's not the first campaign I've been involved in. Before that, I worked in the campaign for free education, helped build a national demonstration we saw last year. In my first year, I was in helping the Justice for Cleaners campaign. We helped build a union branch alongside Unison, the trade union for the cleaners at the university, to make sure that they can keep fighting for better terms and conditions and better rights against the university bosses. I've helped the fossil-free campaign in some of their actions, fossil-free UCL.
Over my 3 years, I've been involved in a number of union societies. I've played lacrosse for all 3 years. I'm now president of the lacrosse club as well. I've also took an active part in the Economics and Finance Society, even though I can't stand economics or finance. It was quite a good way to get involved more in the student life. I'm also president of the Natural Sciences Society, and I've been in that society for 3 years. So it's not just the union stuff, but also there's UCL societies, and it's quite good to see the way they work differently and in some ways a lot better than union societies.
The biggest threat to the union is this cut to our block grant that the university has been sneaking onto us for years. And it's shocking that I can't think of any action that has been taken in recent history to challenge this by the university. Another challenge, or even a risk, would be what becomes of the merger with the IOE Students' Union. What will happen to our funding from there? And this as well, I think, is something that's not been dealt with in any way well enough. It has to be. This has to be things that we're open about, that we campaign on, that we take action on, that we tell the university, you have to give us the funds and resources we need to run the clubs and societies, to run our services for students. I don't want UCLU to go the same way as ULU, because that's the exact situation we're seeing. ULU had for years been losing funding from the University of London, and now UCL is subversively reducing in real terms the amount of money we're getting year on year. And it's astounding that not more action has been taken on this. But then there's more things. We have to go above and beyond just making the union safe. We have to make sure that it's well run, so it can stand up for the rights of the students, so that we can keep campaigning for free education, for better terms and conditions for international students and postgraduate students, to have a cap on their fees. I want to continue making sure that we campaign for affordable student accommodation. UCL's plans include increasing the rent again. It includes cutting twin rooms, which are the most affordable rooms in UCL accommodation. And in terms of challenges the union faces, it's about getting an act together and taking action on these things, so that we're a union that's relevant and that actually changes the conditions and the reality that students face. Because if UCL is becoming a sort of elitist organisation that excludes people because they can't afford to live in accommodation while they're studying here, then that's also a challenge that we have to face. And if nobody does anything about this, it's going to get worse. I'm the only candidate in this election who's actually prepared to do something about it and rise above this kind of playing at politics or pretending to be a manager. And that's because I've been campaigning for years. I know what you need to do to change this. I've got the know-how, the skills, if you like.
I think the biggest problem the union is facing right now is probably two. The first is a massive just lack of engagement by students. No one really cares about the union. They complain about it every single day, but no one seems to do anything about it. So I think first we need to try and make sure that people who are engaged, like clubs and societies, actually get engaged with the union properly, rather than just complain. Also, the financial situation of the union is not fantastic, and it's not going to be solved by cutting money, by cutting people. The best way I can think of doing that is if we just improve the services the union has, so that more money is spent in the union rather than outside, then we'll easily be able to plough any extra revenues from that back into clubs and societies and the services we already provide. Yeah?
Yeah, well, it isn't I mean, it isn't strictly a completely new position. It's a merger of two positions, both of which are among the most work-intensive ones. So I'll essentially be doing the job of two people in 1 year, which I'm entirely prepared to do. Like having the Democracy and Communications Officer and the Ethics, Environment and Operations Officer in the same position means twice as much work. And I'm willing to do twice as much work, if not 3 times as much work. Like I will be there on call. If clubs and societies need to call me up, I'll pick up in the middle of the night if that's what it takes. You know, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that we have a representative union that's bold in defending our rights and making sure that our clubs and societies can continue to function and that everybody gets a fair and equal access to university. And the structure itself of the union actually isn't that important. What's important, I've learned over the few years I've been here, is the people who are in these positions and the mentality that they have. Are you just there because you want a job for a year, you want some experience, something to put on your CV, or are you there because you want to, like I do, actually improve things and actually challenge the university where they're making life harder for students? Well, that's what I want to bring to it. And as I say, we're going to go through a turbulent year ahead. After the general election, who knows what might happen? If the university's cuts to our funding continue, who knows what might happen? I think I'm the only candidate who can provide the leadership we require going through this, because that's what this position is going to be. It's going to be a position where somebody has to lead by experience, and I'm ready to do that. Anybody can check my track record, I think, and be assured that I'm already doing what you need to be doing in this position. I mean, you could say I'm the hardest working SAB at UCLU. I mean, I'm not a SAB, or I'm already doing what this needs to be done. I mean, you have to act assertively. You need to be transparent, communicate with students. That's what I do all the time as a union representative. I go out, I talk to people, I get their opinions. That's what you need to do as an officer in a student union.
I think the no, hang on, James, you can get this, new union. I think the new union structure is going to be quite interesting this year. Hopefully it should make the union more efficient, having only 7.5 officers rather than 10. And it's very good that the IOE have got their own representation, given that they're 8,000 of the 30,000 students. Yeah, it's going to be certainly my new position is going to be quite interesting, because it's the first time that the union's ever had someone who essentially looks after commercial services as well as engaging students, which is basically how the union engages most students at UCL, is through the commercial services rather than any other way. So it should be hopefully a good way of actually making some change and making people want to engage more. And yeah, I think that should be quite interesting and quite an exciting year.
Great. Can I first add one thing in terms of challenges, which I think we need to deal with, and that's, I mean, the matter of space. Space is another huge challenge. That's not just the union, but the students at UCL are facing. Look at the amount of rooms which are overbooked. It's incredibly hard for clubs and societies to book rooms or rehearsal spaces and so on. And this has to do with UCL's policies. And these are the kind of policies that the student union has to challenge, that we have to say you have to meet the needs of students first. It kind of goes hand in hand with the matter of rent. That UCL is not really acting in the best interests or meeting the needs of students, and that we have to say that when UCL makes new developments, such as the student centre that they're building in Bloomsbury or the new campus that they're building in Stratford, that these new projects meet the needs of students. So like I ran a review, I wrote a consultation review of the Ramsey redevelopment there, and there were plenty of things that they hadn't taken into account. For instance, they hadn't put disabled toilets in the basement, they hadn't put in a quiet contemplation room or a prayer room, and I wrote a paper saying that, demanding that these things should be there, this should be a given. The needs of the students should be met, and in the cases where UCL doesn't meet our needs or the needs of clubs and societies, we need an assertive student union that has the guts to challenge them. So if I'm to summarise my manifesto, That's what you'll get if you vote for me. You'll get a union representative, an officer who has the guts, the know-how and the experience to stand up for students' rights, for our clubs and societies, for our union, against the university bosses, against the government's cuts to disabled students' benefits and tuition fees. I'd fight for fairness and equality at UCL for all students and make sure that we have a representative democratic union that represents women, black and minority ethnic students, postgraduate students, disabled students, LGBT plus students. Last sentence. You'll have David Darbourne as your sabbatical officer for a year. Isn't that worth voting for?
Okay, so I guess my three main manifesto points are to improve the union services so that the union can make more revenues, which we can then put back into providing additional services into clubs and societies, into the Rights and Advice Centre. I want the union to cut down on its ridiculous amount of paper wastage and just general wastage of stuff. And that will also help with efficiency of the union because paper forms are inefficient. And to engage more students, especially from clubs and societies, given that they're probably the least engaged student body that we have right now, to hopefully make every single general meeting quora, which would be quite nice, to actually get some stuff done rather than just sit around.